Hello learners, this is Mr. Beckwith, and you're watching another episode of Flashback Fridays. So in this episode of Flashback Fridays, as you might have noticed from my background, we are going to take a look at plate tectonics, and specifically we're going to look at some of the landforms that are created from the different plate boundaries, and we're going to look at the three main types of plate boundaries. All right, so let's take a look at our first plate boundary, convergent boundaries.
So with convergent boundaries, you'll recall that the plates are converging, or they're coming together, as we see in this first graphic. And now what we're looking at is a time lapse of the Indian plate and the Eurasian plate converging, coming together, and over time, those two plates colliding and coming together will form what we know today as the Himalayan mountains, which are the tallest mountains above sea level on planet Earth. The next boundary type we're going to look at is divergent plate boundaries. And divergent plate boundaries, as you can see in this graphic, are when the plates are dividing, they're spreading apart. And so you can see here we actually are looking at the convection current caused by the Earth's core, causing convection in the mantle. So we have hot material moving up, and that's causing the plates to spread apart. But what it's also doing is it's causing these plates to converge at the other end. And so we can see very clearly through this graphic that our divergent plate boundaries, those are really what are causing the other plate boundaries to exist as well, our convergent and our transform. The last plate boundary type we're going to look at are transform boundaries. And transform are a little different because instead of the plates moving apart or moving together, they're actually moving side to side, as we see in this graphic. And so we don't typically get a lot of landforms that are distinct to this plate boundary, other than being able to see the fault line. But what we do get at this boundary are lots and lots of earthquakes. So those are very typical. If you live in California, you know this from the San Andreas Fault.
So hopefully that was a good refresher for you guys on the different landforms that are created from our plate boundaries. It's kind of crazy to think that almost all of the tectonic activity on planet Earth is starting from the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, that one boundary that runs almost the length of the entire planet from the North Pole to the South Pole. And that spreading that's happening, that seafloor spreading, is driving all the convection currents. Everything is being driven by the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which is a pretty crazy thing to think about. All right, guys, I hope this episode was a good review for you. Hopefully you remembered some things that you'd already learned. Hopefully you didn't learn anything new because it should have been a review. But if you did, that's okay too. All right, we'll see you guys next time.